Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report, bringing you the hottest news and feuds from around the industry 5 days a week, Monday through Friday on YouTube and podcast services around the world. So if you're new here and you enjoy the show, hit that subscribe button on your platform of choice. But today we certainly have some very big news to dive into that I have been following for a couple of hours at this point. It looks like Apple has removed Fortnite from the iOS App Store, and Epic has sued in response, citing anti-competitive behavior. Apple has confirmed that it has removed Fortnite from the iOS App Store following Epic Games' alteration of the price of Fortnite V-Bucks and a new direct payment system in response to Apple and Google's exorbitant App Store fees. Epic has responded by filing a complaint for injunctive relief against Apple. In a statement to The Verge, Apple confirmed that, quote, as a result of Epic's update to the game, their Fortnite app has been removed from the store. They go on. Today, Epic Games took the unfortunate step of violating the App Store guidelines that are applied equally to every developer and designed to keep the store safe for our users. Apple's larger statement reads, as a result, their Fortnite app has been removed from the store. Epic enabled a feature in its app which was not reviewed or approved by Apple, and they did so with the express intent of violating the App Store guidelines regarding in-app payments that apply to every developer who sells digital goods or services. Apple goes on to cite Epic's agreement to the App Store rules in the first place, which allowed Fortnite to exist previously on the App Store, noting that, quote, the fact that their business interests now lead them to push for a special arrangement does not change the fact that these guidelines create a level playing field for all developers and make the store safe for all users. The company explains that it, quote, will make every effort to work with Epic to resolve these violations so they can return Fortnite to the App Store, end quote, but it remains unclear how long this ban from the store may last at this time. Now, going back, Epic has sued Apple over the App Store policies. They have filed a legal complaint in California stating that, quote, Apple has become what it once rallied against, the behemoth seeking to control markets, block competition, and stifle innovation. They go on. Rather than tolerate this healthy competition and compete on the merits of its offering, Apple responded by removing Fortnite from sale on the App Store, which means that new users cannot download the app, and users who have already downloaded prior versions of the app from the App Store cannot update it to the latest version, Epic's legal complaint reads. This also means that Fortnite players who downloaded their app from the App Store will not receive updates to Fortnite through the App Store, either automatically or by searching the App Store for the update. Apple's removal of Fortnite is yet another example of Apple flexing its enormous power in order to impose unreasonable restraints and unlawfully maintain its 100% monopoly over the iOS in-app payment processing market. Apple imposes unreasonable and unlawful restraints to completely monopolize both markets, the complaint goes on to read, taking issue with the 30% tax both apps and in-app purchases come with, and the company believes Apple's behavior has anti-competitive consequences on the industry. Now, as of right now, IGN has not received a comment from Epic, although they have asked, but Epic did debut an in-game event, a new short film titled 1980 Fortnite, which was a direct parody of Apple's famous 1984 commercial, and add Epic cites in its suit against Apple. In the video, text reads, quote, Epic Games has defied the App Store monopoly. In retaliation, Apple is blocking Fortnite from 1 billion devices. Join the fight to stop 2020 from becoming 1984, along with the hashtag #FreeFortnite. Epic has elaborated on its Free Fortnite campaign, urging fans affected by these recent moves to petition Apple on social media to reinstate Fortnite. There's a lot to break down here. Now, in the IGN article, they go on to talk about how this is going to impact players. As it stands right now, essentially, you can still play Fortnite on iOS because the most recent update is still the most recent update. But in the next few weeks, that's absolutely going to be changing. And so, hypothetically, Fortnite could just not function on iOS devices, which is a large chunk of its player base, because a lot of younger players especially are big fans of the iOS version, and of course the amount of money that all parties have made from Fortnite is absolutely monstrous. It is enormous how much money has been made from this title. So what do I think about this, and what does the public think? Let's start there. Obviously, right off the bat, the first impression many have is, well, it seems like Apple is at fault here. Not necessarily. This is their store. They run it. In the same way that Twitter can censor whatever content they would like to censor and restrict your speech in whatever way they see fit, Apple can run their store however they see fit. That's the nature of a business. That's just simply how it is. That being said, I don't support the policies that Apple is putting in place, and many people do not either. The biggest problem that we have seen arise before this Fortnite debacle was with Project xCloud. Microsoft made a similar move, where they tried to get xCloud streaming available on iOS, and after months of beta testing, they simply are unable to do it because of restrictions on the Apple App Store, because Apple is unable to successfully moderate what kind of content is sent through xCloud. And so essentially that branch of the project is dead while it continues to live on in Android. That got a lot of people upset. The gaming industry began to get very riled up about that. Now, Epic has come in and essentially weaponized their iOS player base, and in a larger sense, they have weaponized the gaming community. Because I have never played Fortnite on iOS, I never will, but this is still something I'm invested in because I want to see it through. Ultimately, Epic is doing something that is subjectively a bit underhanded here. If you look at how they are going about leveraging their marketing, and if you go about how they have handled this entire situation, an ad was created. CGI had to be rendered. You actually had to remake the 1984 Apple ad, and you had to have all of these assets ready. You had to have a social media campaign ready to go. Essentially, they set a trap for Apple, and Apple walked directly into it. And all of this is going to be in the court of law. This is all going to have to be subjected to the public to judge what exactly is right and what exactly is wrong. And so Apple very well could be facing its day of reckoning because it has been a very closed and isolated ecosystem. And although they say that it is to protect people that use iOS and to ensure that all content on the Apple App Store is acceptable and is fine by their standards, they've been making a lot of money off of these restrictions. And although that is their right to do it, the question asked, is it an antitrust issue when other people can't justifiably compete on your store? That's the biggest question here. Now, Epic is certainly going about this in a very dirty way, in my opinion, but at the same time, is it for the greater good? Is it one of those Robin Hood situations? Is it a Les Mis situation? Is that a proper comparison? You know what I mean? You're stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. You're doing this kind of underhanded ad campaign to try and give other people access to the platform. But ultimately, Google Stadia is something that is having trouble on iOS. Project xCloud is completely banned from iOS, and on top of that, Fortnite is now banned from iOS, at least for the time being. But as Apple points out in their rebuttal, you signed up for the App Store, so you kind of have to play by their rules. That's the nature of the beast. But we will see how this all shakes out in the coming weeks. It certainly is a very interesting story that is currently unfolding as we discuss it here on today's episode of the Jampack Report. But another big story moving on, Microsoft considered launching Halo Infinite in pieces to hit the 2020 launch. Xbox top brass debated whether to release Halo Infinite in separate sections to make sure it had something to launch in 2020. It has been revealed. Speaking on Gary Whitta's Animal Talking Twitch chat show, Xbox boss Phil Spencer revealed that discussions took place between himself, Halo developer 343 Studios boss Bonnie Ross, and Xbox Game Studios chief Matt Booty about potentially shipping the game in separate pieces. Quote, "It just didn't feel, to all of us, like the Halo release that we would want," Spencer said. In the end, the idea was scrapped and Halo Infinite was delayed wholesale instead. Quote, "It is a bummer," Spencer said. "I know it's disappointing to people. It's disappointing to us. We were looking forward to the alignment of Halo and Series X really as a seminal moment for Xbox, looking back to the launch of the original Xbox and Halo Combat Evolved." Spencer said he had wanted to be as transparent about the decision as early as possible so fans could plan their end-of-year purchases accordingly. Quote, "Let's get out the news out there and deal with it because people are making their own life decisions on consoles they're going to buy," Spencer said. "I guess somebody else might have waited, but when we knew, we put the blog together and I said, let's put it live. It won't be our favorite day, but we'll get through it. I've had bad days before. We'll move through it and keep working on things we love doing." Spencer's appearance on the show also saw him praising Nintendo for their continued ability to surprise the industry with must-have products like Animal Crossing, telling an awful dad joke about Minecraft, what is a Minecraft character's favorite sport? Boxing, haha, and revealing he had taken home a final retail version of the Xbox Series X over the weekend. This is something that I think is very significant, and although the headline is interesting, I like what he has to say about the overall delay of Halo Infinite and how they processed that as a team. But let's talk about the title here. Microsoft considered launching Halo Infinite in pieces to hit the 2020 launch window. Would that have been a good idea? Unequivocally, no, because the game still needs more work. Halo as a standalone campaign doesn't have the same amount of punch as Halo with multiplayer. Halo just with multiplayer doesn't have the same amount of punch as Halo with a campaign included. Both of these pieces are just as important as the other in the world of Xbox. And so to wait until spring or summer of 2021 is probably the best move, and I still think that at the end of the day, although I was not happy with it at the time, it still is the best move, and I likely will still be getting an Xbox Series X this holiday because, quite frankly, Game Pass is an incredible value, and there are some very good third-party games coming out, and it is going to be the most powerful console, so there's a lot to break down here. Now, I do want to also touch on the fact that Phil Spencer has said he wanted to get the news out there so that people could make their decisions when it comes to what console they want to get this year, if any. It is very refreshing to see Spencer acknowledging that people might want to buy a PlayStation 5 instead of an Xbox Series X. A lot of people might say, I'll just get both, or a lot of people might be able to afford both. But for many people, either getting both consoles is unthinkable, economically unfeasible, or something they just simply don't want to do. Because we all have lives, we all have jobs, we all have bills to pay. You can't necessarily drop $1,000 or more on upgrading hardware. So you kind of have to make a choice if you do want to get a console at launch, and it's good to be able to give time for people to kind of plan out what kind of move they want to make. So I have a huge amount of respect for that. But overall, Halo Infinite is still going to be coming out in 2021, but it is interesting to see a little bit behind the curtain and hear about the discussions that were had. But to round out today's show, Embracer Group has acquired Metro developer 4A Games and several other studios. Embracer Group, the parent company of THQ Nordic, has continued its buying spree seen over the last couple of years. Today, the company announced it is acquiring 4A Games, the developers of the Metro franchise. The purchase was made for, quote, approximately $36 million over a cash and debt-free basis equivalent to an equity value of $45 million. 4A Games has over 150 staff across 2 studios in Malta and Ukraine. 4A Games released my mind is elsewhere. Metro Exodus in 2019, with additional DLC packs released afterwards. 4A Games will now operate directly under Saber Interactive, which Embracer Group acquired earlier this year. 4A Games will continue to build the Metro franchise while also working on a new multiplayer title and a new AAA IP. Embracer did not stop with 4A Games, as it's also picked up 6 other studios: New World Interactive, Deca Games, Vermilla Studios, Rare Earth Games, Palindrome Interactive, and Pow Wow Entertainment. As of now, Embracer now operates 38 different studios divided between 6 divisions. THQ Nordic is the largest of these divisions, with Saber Interactive, Koch Media, Coffee Stain Holding, Deca Games, and Amplifier Invest making up the remaining 4. So they continue their absolutely mind-boggling acquisitions. Embracer Group has been gobbling up people left and right, and THQ Nordic is obviously the big name here, because THQ was on a huge decline towards the early 2010s, and over the past 10 years, they have absolutely made a giant comeback to where they are essentially the kings of AA games, where they're not quite AAA, they're not quite indie games, but they're kind of in between, where you do have these very high pedigree games that are just available in a lot of different places. And the amount of content they've been able to pump out of a high quality and the amount of variety is something that is absolutely staggering. And so this acquisition is major because Metro is still a pretty big-time franchise in 2020. Metro Exodus is one of the best games of the entire generation in terms of the way that it looks. And it was one of the biggest Game Pass games as well, which I believe it is still currently on there, though it's going away shortly. So very big purchase here, but congrats to Embracer Group, and I hope this continues to grow and evolve in their favor. Now, what's interesting here is they will continue to build the Metro franchise, but they're also working on a new multiplayer title and a new AAA IP. That gets me very excited, especially the multiplayer title. I want something good, but I know that whatever they make is going to be something very interesting that I cannot wait to see. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed today's show, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about the Fortnite situation we have going on right now on the iOS operating system and the debacle between App Store and Epic Games. Would love to hear what you have to say. But until tomorrow, you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.